Hello and good morning. Holly Shields here reporting to you live from Calcutta Studios. It's great to have your company as we wrap up the week. Right now you're watching The Early Trade, a show where we share with you a glimpse at the Australian share market opening trade scene, along with the global and domestic drivers triggering the market momentum. Now in our first segment, we'll be looking at how the early morning trades panned out, taking cues from Wall Street action overnight. Then in the last segment, we'll be looking at the prominent newsmakers grabbing the headlines during the early trade hours, as well as momentum seen in cryptocurrency, crude oil and gold and metals indices. Well, the Australian share market opened in green today despite US shares closing mixed overnight. However, a steady rise in domestic COVID-19 cases may cap risk sentiment. The ASX 200 opened 34.6 points, or 0.46% higher today, after falling 0.5% lower on Thursday. Retailer Adairs medical device company, Cochlear waste management services provider Cleanaway, poultry producer Ingham's, property group Stockland, Sydney Airport Group, and telecommunications company TPG Telecom are a few firms that will be releasing their earnings today. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones fell 0.2%, the S&P 500 climbed 0.1%, and the Nasdaq rose 0.1% as well. Unfortunately, the surge in Delta cases across the US has dented the prospects of early recovery of the economy, with recent economic data painting a rather bleak picture as well. Meanwhile, the minutes from the Federal Reserve's July meeting strengthen expectations that the central bank may roll back stimulus before the year's end, barring some unpleasant economic surprises. And regarding the jobless claims, however, the Labor Department reported that the number of Americans filing new claims for jobless benefits declined to a 17-month low last week. As for the Fed's chair's scheduled speech that may shed some light on the economic front, Jerome Powell will be closely tracked by all investors for cues on the central bank's upcoming steps. Moving on now to a quick look at the highlights of the prominent ASX stocks under the spotlight during the early trades. Looking at the bond yields, the risk appetite of US investors worsened amid a fast spread of COVID variants, resulting in the benchmark 10-year yields falling to a 1.242%. Whereas in the currency space, the safe haven dollar rose to a 9-month high amid prospects of early ending of the Fed's stimulus checks. The dollar index rose 0.46% as well. Moving on now, and the crude oil prices fell for the 6th session in a row as investors were concerned over a fall in demand due to ongoing pandemic and rising US dollar. Brent crude lost 2.6%, while West Texas Intermediate fell an identical 2.6% as well. And the first company we're eyeing today is gold producer and explorer St. Barbara, which expects to incur a non-cash impairment between $250 and $300 million in the financial year 21, whose results are due to be released on the 26th of August, relating to delays in the commencement of mining due to permitting issues. Next up, a specialist employee management service provider Smart Group has recorded a 1% jump in its half-year profit on a 4% increase in revenue. An interim dividend of 17.5 cents per share has also been announced, and after the reported period, the net debt stood at $4.5 million. Moving on now, and investor and diversified property developer Stockland returned to profit in the financial year 21, recording a statutory profit of $1.1 billion over a loss of $21 million in the financial year 2020. The profit also includes revaluation uplift of $432 million as its logistics, life sciences and tech portfolio recorded strong gains. Meanwhile, a staggering tumble for a nation with restricted movement. Airport operations company Sydney Airport's net operating receipts fell a hefty 98% as a result of lockdowns in Australia in the half year ending the 30th of June. The number of passengers also fell 36.4%, and total revenue was down 33.2% to $346.1 million, and no dividends were declared. Lastly, telecommunications company TPG Telecom and its merged entity Vodafone Australia reported an 8% fall in the half year's net profit to $73 million, while revenue shot up to $2.6 billion. Prepaid average revenue per user increased 12.7%. And energy stocks like Woodside Petroleum were in the red during the early trades, whereas Santos edged lower too today. Looking at the futures and commodities space, gold prices fell over expectations of early policy tapering by Fed weighed on the sentiment. And spot gold fell 0.5% as US gold futures settled down 0.1%. ASX-listed gold stocks like St. Barbara were seen in the red during the early trades, whereas Newcrest Mining was also trading lower during the opening trades. And looking at the metals update, benchmark iron ore futures in China extended losses for the third session in a row. The most traded iron ore futures on the Dalian Commodity Exchange for January delivery finished down 7.2%. And in the UK, the benchmark copper on the London Metal Exchange were down 1.6% as well. And that's just about all for now on the early morning trades, but stay tuned with 𝐿 TV as we have many more shows lined up for you, sharing the latest updates across economies, markets and sectors. Holly Shields signing off.